Hello, friends. Hey, everyone. Every man has faced a situation where a woman suddenly lost interest in him and needed time to think. She took a pause to be alone, to sort out her feelings, whether she loves you or doesn't love you. She might talk about wishing you all the best, but nonetheless, she is not with you in this moment. When a man looks into her cold and indifferent eyes, he cannot believe that she just doesn't give a damn. He might admit anything. She's offended. He didn't give enough. Someone whispered something in her ear, influenced the situation. But believing in indifference is very, very hard. And it's not even indifference, it's worse. Because in such a position, a woman is capable of experiencing more interest in a stranger on the street, at work, on a dating site, than in you, her, as she used to say, soulmate, with whom there is a whole backstory. How is this possible? A stranger currently attracts her more than you do. The answer is actually simple. Yes, the issue, of course, is devaluation. What unites any stories related to a breakup? She is leaving. Towards the end, she starts to get irritated by things that were previously invisible to her. She didn't notice them. Today, I want to explain the mechanism itself, how this happens, what the principle of devaluation is, how to foresee it, and what kind of relationships await her in the future. This is a known scenario, she doesn't know about it, but you and I are going to learn about it right now. In general, devaluation is directly linked to pride, of course. The simplest way to elevate oneself is to devalue those around you a little bit. But I don't want to touch on this topic right now. It's a long one, so just food for thought. Now to the specifics. We draw a woman, and around her is this zone of devaluation. When you have just met, you don't fall into it immediately. You are located outside this circle. That is, you are still something unknown, something new in her life, something that is still possible to idealize. And you enjoy each other. There is no routine, domestic life, and all the rest. This is something she does not yet possess, especially if there is an element of unavailability. Accordingly, after some time, of course, during the course of a close relationship, possibly a family one, you fall under devaluation. At the beginning of a relationship, there is always a hormonal cocktail, which is primarily based on dopamine. You recall how vividly you spent time in the very beginning. That is dopamine. Accordingly, if a man is ineffective, he cannot close this request for the woman, and a man often falls into scenarios where he starts relationships with women, and after a year, 2, 3, 4, they leave him. Then he starts again. They leave him again. Someone will want to ask me, Max, why should I bother and give emotions to some woman? That is, from the point of view of the concept, this might not be entirely correct or right. I explain, the point is not that we turn into clowns, but that when you acquire the ability to do this, only this is the marker that you can read that very need. That is, if I know how to do this, and I definitely know how to do this, and you can learn this. The question is different. Only if I know how to do this, can I see that a woman needs this and not start a relationship with her. But if I don't understand, if I don't know how, then I will choose her and simply believe in the best, like the majority of guys do, and then they get left. Accordingly, look at what happens next. In relationships, the subjective feeling of happiness is always determined by comparison. Just like everywhere else, just like any indicator in life, as soon as the hormonal cocktail ends, she starts making comparisons with what could be. That is, at the beginning of the relationship, she doesn't devalue, but doesn't idealize either. But right now, she might start thinking about something else. It could be a boss, it could be a higher status person, a richer person, it could simply be a person who interested her greatly. If we are talking about women who leave for another, and the man is married, that is unavailability. That is, it becomes much more seductive in terms of conditions. That is, a person lives unrealized. In short, by the fact that they are led by scarcity. They want what they do not yet have. Once they have it, they devalue it. And so, the quality and future of the relationship are determined by how the woman reasons. And it turns out that if your ex's focus had not been on what she wanted, but on what she could get, on who she could be with, if she hadn't been stricken by pride and a tendency towards devaluation, she would have had a real reason every day. This is what needs to be understood now. She has, I didn't make this up, a real reason, to wake up every morning and smile. Every morning they would have a sincere desire to kiss your hands for being there, because you are real, because you aren't going anywhere, because you aren't cheating, and because you sincerely root for the family. That's it. A happy life lies ahead. Don't devalue what you have. No need to reach for something somewhere. Nobody knows where, and nobody knows why. Enough fantasizing, enough Instagram, enough of all the rest, enough slogans from pop psychology. You need to love yourself more so pride pours out of your ears. You don't need all that. But this is a certain labor. You need to give yourself a certain suggestion daily. But if a woman starts coming from a place of deficit, if she starts comparing away from something I don't have yet, then of course immediately after the love mode, which loses power in the absence of effectiveness, you start turning into a person with whom it is boring, uninteresting, dreary, irritating. Moreover, this is almost always, almost 100%, perfectly made up reasons. They happen on the level of sensations. Oh, you used to be funny and light, but now you aren't. Previously you... Constantly, basically. If you ask a woman what doesn't suit her, these are completely made up excuses. I think you've seen, many of you have seen, when a woman couldn't find the right words to explain why she wants to leave you. She sees that you annoy her. There she sits and can simply be rude to you, can simply insult you somehow, and you can't link this to anything. And the whole point is that when she devalues, she primarily devalues not even you, but her entire life. You understand where this hatred comes from? Her whole life, everything she has, and all failures, all dissatisfaction. She simply cannot become happy with such a life concept. She cannot become happy. And this means you are the culprit that you haven't received something yet, what she wants, what she deserves. That is the feeling that starts to appear. Therefore, you turn into an enemy. There are situations, which is the saddest part, when a woman with no obvious problematic nature can live like this and reason like this. That is, being together with the woman can be comfortable. She doesn't throw tantrums. She isn't prone to conflicts. You know what it looks like? There is simply a mode where she is drawn to you very strongly, then an unnoticeable, invisible lowering of significance, and then, whoosh, a few little signals. She's like, well, sorry, and off she goes. How are you doing? She might ask so politely about you. How are things? I worry about you. What do you mean you worry? You left me. What do you mean you worry? This is hypocrisy. This is not the truth. Why are you lying? Because retouching is necessary. She can't consider herself a bad person for heading off, in search of happiness, while forgetting about you. Therefore, this predisposition, it might not be so obvious yet. And many are interested in the question, why do women often return by themselves after half a year, several years? The whole point is that when you fell under devaluation, she is, in essence, capable of leaving for a person who is worse than you in all parameters. Moreover, it must be said honestly that if that very inaccessible, unattainable person doesn't exist yet in the distance, then she thinks about him, she imagines. Actually, even if she leaves into nowhere, she goes in search of this specific person. And why does she run away from relationships? Why does such a person exit relationships? And why does she not know how and cannot work on relationships? Because the deficit intensifies. That is, by virtue of the fact that she is with you, or these relationships are not unavailable, she starts wanting even more and wanting even more. She won't say this, of course, but it is the truth. Accordingly, even if such a person is found, sooner or later he falls completely under devaluation. Accordingly, and you, being under devaluation, are already capable through ignoring or through distancing to get into that zone of inaccessibility. Many have the question, why get involved with an ex-girlfriend at all? What is this needed for? Why can't she climb, I don't know, onto Tinder or somewhere else and find something new? Why exactly does she need to humiliate herself for some reason? That is, the man doesn't understand female motivation at all, doesn't understand at all. Everything is very simple. For her, that is the goal. That is, in essence, who will be that final period. She doesn't give a damn who he is, what he is. The image is important to her. The sensation is important to her. Accordingly, if you create the conditions for this, she will want it. And it doesn't matter what happened between you. It doesn't matter that she said there is no perspective how much you fought. It makes absolutely no difference. If a person was able to create circumstances, or ended up there accidentally, that he ends up specifically in this circle, Then sooner or later she will manifest herself and start making contact, and she will explain to herself why she needs this. She invents the why herself, just like she invents here why she needs to dump a normal guy for nobody knows where. Exactly in the same way, later she will invent why she needs to return to you and that she understood everything. That's all. But what is the difficulty here? It's that yes, after the ignore, there will again be such a range or distancing there when everything will be kind of okay, when she loves you, understood her mistakes. But further on, this predisposition in the person, as a rule, remains. Of course, that is why everything will go plus or minus according to the same scenario. That is, we get a picture where, I think it's familiar to many, especially those on the channel for a while longer, we get a picture where the person seems not bad, right? Well, not a bad person, but she treats people she hardly knows much better, if you look into it. People who are at a distance, for them she can do more. She depends specifically on their opinion. But the closer you are to her, the closer you are to her. The worse she treats you. Worse. And do you know what sometimes surprises men in such a position? When the relationship starts to spoil, he sees that for her, someone's opinion from the outside, someone's responsiveness, attention are more valuable, more authoritative than her own man's. And everything comes exactly to this. What to do if you are currently sometimes still catching flashbacks regarding past relationships. Accept the fact that your story is not a unique tragedy, but a standard, predictable scenario dictated by instincts, not logic. Simply watching videos and understanding the theory is not enough to stop suffering. You need a deep internal transformation. Knowledge becomes power only when backed by real practice and a change in your behavior. Your main task right now is not to look for ways to please or return everything to how it was, but to gain complete emotional independence and become someone who cannot be devalued. Stop being a convenient background for someone else's life. Get busy with yourself and start building your own reality where your happiness does not depend on her opinion. Take action, develop yourself, and remember, only those who respect themselves are respected. Good luck.